My pop used to love to say, the interests of the people often lose out to the pull of power and profits. And boy, did we see that today. Zuckerberg announcing that his platforms, Meta, will no longer fact check. Now, everyone sees this as a nod to Trump. In fact, that was the lower third on Fox News. He has bent the knee. Can we trust him? So certainly that is the play on the right, that Zuckerberg is doing this to cozy up to power, especially when he announced this today along with a new board member who's known for heading up the UFC, Trump's buddy Dana White. Odd choice unless you're trying to do something to get closer to Trump. But the real proof for me of what I see as perfidy to the rest of us is how Zuckerberg explained the change here.
We built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US.
Now look, first of all, he sounds and looks like a Trump podcaster, right? But what a shift from 4 years ago. Literally to the day, this is when Zuckerberg banned Trump from Facebook after the January 6th riot. Now, the decision then and the decision now, both were made for bad reason. Not the best interest of people, but the best interest of power and profits for Zuckerberg. Right? 4 years ago, he was playing to the revulsion on the left. Now he's playing to the revulsion on the right. He's kissing up to winners and making us losers. Now, look, I don't care that he donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration. That's what companies do. I don't care how much his watch costs, although I got to say, it's a bad look. You say you want to talk about leveling the playing field and being the everyman with your little get up there, and then you have a watch that costs more than people's houses and savings combined? I mean, it just shows that this is fugazi, what's going on here. This is not a legitimate play to the people. It's about power, and that's what I care about. What he is choosing, which is to help himself at your expense. Because there's no question, social media has been getting less reliable as it has expanded. And you know who knows this better than I do? Zuckerberg. How do we know that? You remember the hearings after the 2016 election? Zuckerberg said as much right then, right there, under oath. And then after the hearings, what did he do? Facebook helped build the third-party fact-checker industry. 64% of fact-checking organizations work for Zuckerberg. So clearly, he is moving away from accuracy for a reason. And it's not that it's too hard, okay? The reason is a bad one. He is aping Twitter's community notes. And we know that's not going to solve for the real problem any better than it does on Twitter. How do we know? Here's how. The way community notes works is users volunteer to be contributors who propose checks on posts, and then they vote on which fact checks should become notes attached to a post. And if they don't find consensus, there's no fact check. A recent analysis found that the mis- or disinformation posts that were studied on X, that community notes didn't publish a fact check on 91% of them. That's how we know it's not a great solution, okay? But look, the real play for Zuckerberg isn't merely copying Musk's policies, it's copying Musk's proximity to Trump's hiney. How do we know that? How he explained the need to change.
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
Well, first of all, those are your employees. So you hire people, you tell them to do the job, they don't do it well, and then you blame the rest of us. You're going to stop fact-checking because people who actually fact-check keep calling you out on doing a bad job. And instead of owning that, you're going to just not do the job. And instead, you blame wokeness, basically. Now, he calls it a culture of exaggerated inclusion. But I think that's code, meaning woke, which is exactly what Musk says. And it's fine to say it, but just own it, okay? Now, Zuckerberg also says Biden pressured him to censor. So let me get this straight. Biden's people pressure you to censor. Your answer to being pressured is to drop standards and kiss up to the next administration that replaced the one that was pressuring you. Come on. Look, it's easy to dislike the media, okay? It's easy to blame the media for everything. Corporate influence, bias. I just re-signed with NewsNation. Why? Two reasons. Loyalty. They gave me a chance that others wouldn't. Second, because this is an insurgent startup that does things differently. And I believe there is a need for that, okay? I believe in better. Zuckerberg is making things worse. It is clear that his concerns about corporate media are just as present and less protected against at his company. And the reason it burns me is because when I first interviewed him in 2013, he was all about using his power to help people.
We've always just focused on building something great over the long term, right? So everyone at Facebook, I just tell them, come in and try to make the biggest impact that you can have. And if we keep building a service that people love and that more and more people use every day, which we seem to be doing pretty well at, then we're going to be fine over time. And that's our focus in terms of building the company.
Hard to do, though, when you hit the bumps in the road, though, right? I mean, it's a great message when everything is
It's especially
okay.
important when you hit the bumps.
Ah, I didn't just have more hair then, I had a better idea. You hit the bumps, it gets hard to keep people first. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. He is compromising what matters most for people. Access to accurate clips and information. And why? For the sake of his own power. It got hard, and he's doing what's good for him. And he's doing it at a time when people can post anything, and increasingly, those things are fake. And they're tricking more and more people to believe things without basis. Can the best solution really be a standard where you vote on what you like to be true? Zuckerberg says he's making the change for us, but I think his own words show what this is really about for him.
We're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government.
So, stop fact-checking, and Trump will help you expand into Europe and China? And maybe also help Zuckerberg with that little lawsuit with the FTC that seeks to break up Meta? I mean, could it be any more of a naked play? I leave you with this. From the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. Luke 12:48. Question. Should Congress rethink the rules social media platforms and their big shots get to play by? Should Congress take away the immunity from litigation for social media platforms if they are going to continue to do things that anyone else would be sued for? Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.